when we were first married, Harold wanted to take his pharmacy exams, and so we could own our own drugstore.
You lived in Indianapolis?
We lived in Plainfield. Because when we were married, Dad gave us that house in Plainfield.
It wasn't a parsonage?
No, because that was the house they were going to retire. That was to be my mother's first real home.
Really?
And she didn't live to live in it at all. So when Harold and I were married, Dad gave us that house and gave Teresa the same amount of money. In Mother's memory, really. It was on account of losing Mother. So we lived in Plainfield. And then he took 3 days to take that examination in the courthouse there in Indianapolis. And he passed it, of course. He always passed everything. And then we bought our own drugstore out on the west side of Indianapolis. And one interesting thing about, I guess it's interesting, we always knew when Dillinger was home. You ever hear about Dillinger?
The robbery?
The big robbery, yeah. Well, we all see his parents, his family were Quakers in Mooresville, Indiana, and went to our church. So we knew the family. But Dillinger, of course, turned out to be the mean one. And whenever he would be home, we would know when he was home because his mother and brother would come to our drugstore. We were the last drugstore out of Indianapolis before you got to Martinsville. And they would come and practically buy us out. Everything in the store, bandages and all just loads of things.
Oh, to fix him up.
To fix him up, yeah. So we knew a whole day or 24 hours before anybody else knew. We knew he was home. But they knew they could trust us, see. So they came clear in from Mooresville to shop with us. And then the next day there'd be headlines in the Indianapolis Star, Dillinger home. And we'd known it for 24 hours. But we had pretty long hours at the drugstore. And when the Depression came, we decided that we couldn't keep that house in Plainfield anymore, so we sold it.
So Dad was born in Plainfield?
No, he was born in the hospital in Indianapolis.
Yeah, but I mean when you lived
in Plainfield. But we lived in Plainfield.
Yeah,
we lived in Plainfield. Yeah. And so then we shortened our drugstore and made a living room, and we already had a back room that had a cot in it and stuff, and we put a bed back there. So we had a bedroom and living room and thought we'd just live there for a year during the Depression. And you know, we had some of the most fun during those times because we brought, when it was our turn to entertain the Sunday school class, we'd have a party in our drugstore after 9 o'clock, and then for dessert we'd let each one of them go to the fountain and make anything they wanted. And we had some really wonderful parties in that old drugstore. And then Harold got this opportunity to be the head pharmacist up at Stokes Pharmacy that didn't do anything but prescriptions, up on the 6th floor of one of the medical buildings, right downtown in Indianapolis. So we sold our drugstore and he took that job, and he kept that then until we moved to Whittier.